Hey, good morning everyone. I hope I'm clearly visible and audible to you. Give me a thumbs up in the comment section if you can see that clearly. Okay? Yeah. Everything is fine? Chaliye. So, till now, and in fact specifically in the last session, I told you that we have talked about the special part or special cases, NCERT cases of the oscillation and simple harmonic motion, in which our last interaction was based on the analysis of simple pendulum, partially only. And today we are going to talk about spring mass system or spring pendulum, that is a special case of linear simple harmonic motion. So today we are going to talk about spring mass system. Spring mass system, or you can say spring pendulum. Spring pendulum. Now in this, what are the problem models? First of all, you have to understand that problem models. So problem models are that there will be a mass attached to a spring, and you have to talk about the three things: maximum compression or extension. Maximum compression or extension produced in the spring. You have seen that these are very common questions, in the spring. That is X max. For our further discussion, we will write it as X max only. Then we will talk about the maximum velocity. Maximum velocity of the oscillating block. Maximum velocity of the oscillating block. Okay. And the third question, which is very common for the exam, is about which we will talk a lot today. Okay, that is time period or frequency. Time period or frequency of oscillation. Time period or frequency of oscillation. All right. So basically, this way, if we go further, then we can talk about all the types of problem models which are related to the spring mass system. There are many in-depth concepts also, but these are the common things. These are the common things: time period or frequency of oscillation. And if you remember, yesterday I told you that time period, which is 1 by f, that is 2 pi for linear simple harmonic motion, that is 2 pi under root m by kr. 2 pi under root m by kr. So this is the formula for time period. We will talk about the time period of oscillation. We will talk about the maximum compression or extension produced, as well as we can talk about the maximum velocity of the oscillating block. Okay, so there will be different cases. One by one, we will talk about that. And the approaches, the way of dealing the problems, way, or you can say approaches for solution. So there are three different ways, three different methods of physics on the basis of which you can analyze any case, especially the spring mass system we are talking about. Way one, that is equations of motion. Equations of motion, or you can say kinematics method, kinematics approach. We commonly call that kinematics approach. Okay. Second thing, way two, in order to solve any question, because few problems I can solve by all the methods, so you need to be a bit careful. Way two, that is conservation of energy. Obviously universal method, conservation of energy. And way three, that is the SHM approach. Simple harmonic motion approach, SHM approach. So for few problems, we can look for it. We can easily see that, how these questions are answered one by one on the basis of all the methods. So we have a good time. In between, you might feel that one method is going a bit mathematically complex, but don't worry about it here. Maths is just used to simplify your physics. It doesn't mean to complicate your physics. So whenever we will feel in between that our taken mathematical approach is complicating the things a bit, we won't leave the way in between. We will do that completely, but after that we will also try to find out any shortcut method, any particular pattern, any general result, any easier method. The story will not be completed till the time you don't get an easier way of handling the same problems for NEET level and even sometimes above the NEET for targeting the particular AIMS entrance examinations. Okay, so this is something we can talk about. Now, let us talk about the other things. Spring mass system, spring pendulum. We will see how does it look like. So I'll just take illustration one example. Okay, let me brief you. Before that, let me brief you regarding the spring ones. So what you see is, suppose that's a rigid wall and this is a spring in its natural length. Okay, this spring is right now in its natural length. Natural length, generally that can be taken as L0. In our discussion, I may take it as L0. So this will be the natural line of alignment. This will be the natural line of alignment you are expecting. Suppose it is compressed. So it will look like this, that it is compressed from its mean position. This is the mean position, most stable position or equilibrium position as of now. Suppose it has been disturbed or compressed by x units from its mean position. So you will realize that a compressed spring will try to push back. Compressed spring will try to restore its original length. So compressed spring will try to push both the ends in the two directions. Here it will give you a spring force Fs, and here also it will give you a spring force Fs, where you can say here spring force will be equal to K0 into X. Spring force will be equal to K0 into X, where you can say that this spring is having a spring constant K0. And if you realize it, you can also say vectorially, in vector terms, your spring force will be equal to K0 into minus X. Why minus, sir? Because if the disturbance is given towards the left, if the disturbance of the free end is given towards the left, then force is experienced towards the right. The force is experienced towards the right. It's pretty simple here. And since the disturbance and force are having opposite direction, that's why you are calling this force as a restoring force. The purpose of restoring force is always to act in opposite direction to that of the disturbance and to restore the original configuration of the system, bringing it back, restoring. That's why the force is named as restoring force. Similarly, if you take it like this, that if you extend it a bit, suppose you extend it a bit like this, then you will say, sir, here we have provided it from the natural length situation, we have provided it a disturbance y. So we have disturbed it towards the right, and then you will realize that an extended spring will try to pull back from both the ends. So an extended spring will try to pull back from both the ends. Let us say this is Fs dash. Let us say this is Fs dash. So you can say here Fs dash will be equal to K0 into y. Or in vectorial form, you will say Fs dash vector will be K0 into minus y. K0 into minus y. I hope the idea is clear to you. So what I'm trying to tell you is, okay, let me keep it here only. What I'm trying to tell you is that why the spring force is said as a restoring force, because it is always acting opposite to the direction of disturbance provided. Moreover, why this system will be exhibiting the simple harmonic motion? Because the restoring force is linearly dependent on the disturbance you have provided. I hope the basic fundamentals are clear to you. All right. Moreover, also we can write here that the spring potential energy, because potential is the energy stored because of the shape, size, position, or you can say the configuration. So an extended spring, in order to extend some spring, you would have to do some work. In order to compress a spring, you would have to do some work. So what is happening with that work? That work is getting stored. That work is getting stored completely or partially in the form of potential energy of the spring. So spring potential energy U, formula will be given by half K naught x square, half kx square. Also, that can be written as, if you multiply and divide with k, you will get f square by 2k. Also, that can be written as fx by 2. 1 kx, if you isolate, you will get f, so it is fx by 2. So spring force formula is F equals to kx, where x is not the length. I repeat, x is not the length. Particularly if I want to talk about x here, then x will be given by L initial minus L final. In this situation, L initial minus L final. And y, if I want to see here, then I will say this y is basically L final minus L initial. So bigger length minus smaller length. Ultimately, this extension or compression is the difference in the lengths. So remember, spring force formula is F equals to kx, spring potential energy formula is half kx square, where x is not the final length, x is not the initial length, x is the disturbance provided not from the initial even. That is the disturbance provided from the mean position. So coincidentally, since we have taken the initial length as the mean position length or natural length, you can say, that's why I'm introducing Li and Li. Otherwise, I should take it as L naught. The disturbance provided from the mean position or the disturbance provided from the natural length. Alright, I hope these things are clear to you. Certainly, on the similar grounds, if I try to draw some graphs, suppose I try to draw the graph spring force versus x having spring k, having k constant. Okay, number one. Suppose I want to talk about number 2, in which spring force I am plotting with k, or let me take other graphs as of now. Suppose I ask you that spring force, sorry, my bad. Spring force versus k having the x constant, and suppose I say x versus k having the spring force as constant. Okay, I have drawn 3 graphs in front of you. I have asked the 3 graphs in fact, and you have to talk about these 3 graphs one by one. We will try to talk about them. Okay, easily. So these 3 graphs are based on the formula F equal to kx all the time. So these 3 graphs are based on the spring force. Other graphs I will take on the next slide. Those will be based on the spring potential energy. Okay, let us try to take it here. First of all, I will say that Fs, k and x, if you want to write, you will write Fs is equal to k into x, out of which this k is constant. If k is constant, then you will say spring force is directly proportional to x. Directly proportional graph means straight line passing from the origin. Secondly, if I say that I have to talk about again the same relation, Fs is equal to k into x, this time x is constant. If x is constant, clearly you will say spring force is directly proportional to k. Directly proportional to k means again straight line passing from the origin. I hope the logic is clear to you. Alright. Next, again we will write for this one, Fs is equal to kx into x, out of which this time the spring force is constant. If spring force is constant, you will say x is inversely proportional to k, and inversely proportional graph is coming out to be a rectangular hyperbola. You know, in physics, directly proportional graph always comes straight line passing from the origin. Inversely proportional graph always comes rectangular hyperbola. Okay, I hope the logic is clear to you. All right. Rectangular hyperbola. Right. Chaliye, you can take a screenshot here. I have taught you a lot right now, and in which what I'm suggesting is that you need to have this mindset that for spring mass system, it's a very important system here. Without spring, there is a very rare chance that you will get the NEET examination paper. Okay, so it is an integral part, right? So we have to understand each and every basic concept related to the spring mass system. So we have just started with the two important aspects, force and spring potential energy. We have seen the formula too. Now we are plotting the variation. We are plotting the graph. Okay. Then we have understood what are the common questions related to the spring mass system and what could be the common approaches, what could be the common way of solving the problem. Okay. Most versatile jo hai in this. Now you can have a doubt, sir, which method to be used when. So I will say generally equations of motion is very lengthy. Conservation of energy is the most versatile. Conservation of energy is the most versatile, like in maximum problems you can apply that. And for SHM approach, you can say this is the shortest approach. So if you have a good command on the simple harmonic motion, you can do all the spring mass question in 1 line, 2 lines like that. Okay. There are other methods to simplify this called Taylor's method, this method, that method, but we will talk about it separately someday. Okay. I hope the basic idea is clear. Please take the screenshot. Take the screenshot. Okay. So I'm telling you to take the screenshot so that on go you can just keep going through your screenshots and you can clearly quickly have a revision. But otherwise you will get all these notes on the Telegram group whose link is given in the description of the video. Apart from this here, if you want to learn from any topic taught by me, then you can simply write on YouTube the name of the topic by Abhilash Jha Sir Physics. Okay. So you will find a lot of videos. I will definitely be guiding you regarding each and every aspect of physics. We'll try to grow together and learn together here. And yeah, don't forget to share and subscribe this video so that many of your friends can also learn this sitting back at home. All right, chaliye. Now taking you ahead here. So now we will do some more graphs. Okay. Now regarding the graphs, there is a misconception. There are two misconceptions. I will try to directly talk about the points. Tip number 1 from my side, tip 1. Don't just think that which variable is on y-axis and which variable is on x-axis. Rather also think that which physical quantity you are keeping constant. I repeat, in order to plot a graph, you have to remember three physical quantities. Number 1, which is plotted on y-axis. Number 2, which is plotted on x-axis. Number 3, which is kept as a constant. Accordingly, only you will decide which formula to be used. I'll show you. Tip 2, another tip from my side. You have to remember that graph is never drawn between the physical quantities. Graph is always drawn between the mathematical variables. Graph is never drawn between the physical quantities. Graph is always drawn between the mathematical variables. For example, everyone knows gravitational formula. है ना? Gravitational, like force of Newton's law of gravitation. Suppose there are two masses, m1 and m2, separated by a distance r, then here the force in between them is given by g m1 m2 by r square. This can be kept in any medium. Gravitational forces are medium independent. Electrostatic force and magnetic forces are medium dependent, but gravitational forces are medium independent. G is universal gravitational constant. Okay. Now you see that this is based on inverse square law. Inverse square law. Everyone knows that. है ना? But right now what I'm trying to tell you is that suppose I ask you the graphs Fg, gravitational force versus R. If I ask you the graph Fg Fg versus r square. If I ask you the graph Fg versus 1 by r, and if I ask you the graph Fg versus 1 by r square, all these graphs will be different. I repeat, all these graphs will be different. I'll repeat my words again. Tip 2, I said the graph is not drawn between the physical quantities. The graph is drawn between the mathematical variables, which is there on the y-axis, which is there on the x-axis, and which is kept as a constant. For example, Fg in all the four graphs, the physical quantities involved are force and distance of separation. The physical quantities involved are same, force and different of distance of separation, but still the graphs are not coming out to be same. Graphs will come out to be different. We will see how. Okay. So first of all, I will say that suppose I am dealing with Fg versus R. So I will say what I know is Fg is inversely proportional to R square. Okay. Now I'll replace it with the variable, that Fg will denote the y variable and R will denote the x variable. So it is y is inversely proportional to x square. Y is inversely proportional to x square. The graph will look like a rectangular hyperbola, but what you need to understand is that this is not a, because inversely proportional graph, inverse relation will show rectangular hyperbola. Exactly. But inverse square, it looks like that, but you need to understand that that is not a rectangular hyperbola. Okay, that rectangular hyperbola, y is inversely proportional to x. I'm talking about that. Okay. Now, similarly, if you talk about this, the second one, I will say, again, the physics says that Fg is inversely proportional to r square. But the graph will not be plotted on the base of physics here. That will be plotted on the basis of maths. That Fg will be replaced by y variable here. This is Fg now. This is Fg. Fg will be replaced by y variable here. And r square, 1 by r it is. 1 by r you have to plot, 1 by r. So 1 by r can be completely replaced by x. 1 by r can be completely replaced by x. So it is coming out to be y is directly proportional to x square. Y is directly proportional to x square. And we all know that y is directly proportional to x square is an upward parabola. That is coming out to be an upward parabola. Got something? Once again, sir. Let's see the other one. I'm talking about Fg and r square. So physics says that Fg is inversely proportional to r square. Math says that here the Fg is basically y. Fg can be replaced by y, and r square completely can be replaced as x. So y is inversely proportional to x. This is actually a rectangular hyperbola. This is actually a rectangular hyperbola. Hope that is clear to you. All right. Now let us talk about the next one. You will say physics again says that Fg is inversely proportional to r square, but math says that here, math says that here Fg will be replaced by y variable. Fg will be replaced by y variable, and 1 by r square can be replaced by x. So y is coming out to be directly proportional to x, and directly proportional to x means straight line passing from the origin. So you remember what I told you as a tip 2 is that graph is not plotted between the physical quantities. The reason is, in all the four graphs, the physical quantities involved are only two, same, that is force and distance of separation. But graphs are actually plotted on the basis of the the variables, parameters, you can say, y and x axis parameter. What is there on the y axis, which physical quantity lies exactly on the y axis, and which is there on the x axis. So correspondingly, we have got four different graphs. I hope the basic idea of graph is clear to you. All right. Right, great. Now let us talk about the other graphs which we are interested in. Here, spring potential energy, related to the spring potential energy, related to SPE, spring potential energy U. Okay. So let me take you to the graphs, and you can try also. I'll number them once again. Number 1, I will say spring potential energy versus x. spring potential energy versus X you have to draw, keeping the K as constant. Spring potential energy versus K, spring potential energy versus K, keeping X as constant. Spring potential energy, or you can say here, I will plot X versus K, keeping the spring potential energy as constant. Okay, these are the three graphs. Another one is, I'll say spring potential energy U versus X, keeping the force constant. Spring potential energy versus F, keeping the X constant, and spring potential energy, or you can say X versus, or force versus X, keeping the spring potential energy constant. Hope you are understanding the pattern, what I am taking. Pattern, hopefully you are understanding here. Okay, so I'll just shift it. I need 3 more graphs, because if you don't understand the pattern, the things will be quite complicated for you, because how I am drawing the graph, you have to understand the criteria, because you need to learn how the graphs are drawn. I have already shared the tips. I'll implement those tips now, and let me take the other 3 graphs too. Spring potential energy versus F, keeping K constant. Obviously K constant means for the same spring you are talking about. Different K's means different springs you are talking about. Spring potential energy U versus K, different springs you are plotting, keeping the force, spring force as the same. And here let me draw the graph of spring potential energy, spring force versus K, keeping the spring potential energy as constant. So if you understand the pattern carefully here, you will realize that here all these 3 graphs, graph number 1, graph number 2 and graph number 3 are relating 3 physical quantities, potential energy X and K, UXK. So the formula for which is the governing one for the first 3 graphs is going to be like this: spring potential energy U, that is equal to half K X square. So first of all, you need to choose the expression which will be serving as the governing one for the graph. Accordingly, we will choose what type of proportionality is coming. Similarly, for the next 3 graphs, if you notice, it is spring potential energy, force X, spring potential energy, force X. These 3 graphs will be based on this particular formula. So the expression you need to use right now is that spring potential energy U is equal to Fx by 2. Fx by 2. Spring potential energy is Fx by 2. And if you want to talk about the next one, you will see that next one is spring potential energy F and K. So spring potential energy will be F square by 2K. F square by 2K. Alright. So we are talking about the variation of all this. Talking about the variation. Chaliye. Let us try to talk about the first one. We will say the governing formula is U is equal to half Kx square. U is equal to half Kx square, out of which U is, the K is constant. So naturally K by 2 completely is constant. This implies, because half is a mathematical number here, this implies U is directly proportional to X square. Whenever Y is directly proportional to X square, wherever Y is directly proportional to X square, it is an upward parabola. Upward parabola C. This graph here given for the force also resembles the same. Similarly, if you want to talk about the next one, you'll see again the formula, governing formula is U is equal to half Kx square. U is equal to half Kx square, out of which X is constant, means this X square is constant. So clearly U is directly proportional to K. If U is directly proportional to K, it has to be a straight line passing from the origin. Straight line passing from the origin. Next one, spring potential energy is equal to half Kx square. Half Kx square, out of which this U is constant, and I am taking the half treated as a mathematical number, it has to be anyways constant. So you can say that k is inversely proportional to x square or x square is inversely proportional to k, one and the same thing. So it looks like a rectangular hyperbola, but it is not exactly a rectangular hyperbola. In fact, this graph resembles the first one I have talked earlier about. So that is fg versus, like, y is inversely proportional to x square. It looks like a rectangular hyperbola, but it is not exactly the one, not a rectangular one. Okay. Talking on the similar grounds, talking about the next one, if I say that ufx, the related formula is u is equal to fx by 2. So whatever is the work done, you have a spring in front of you, you hold it from both the ends, you try to extend or compress it. Whatever will be the work done, that is F into x, half of that work done will be stored in the spring potential energy if you treat the force, in order to remember that force to be constant. But the fact is that here spring force which is coming into the picture is not a constant force, it's a variable force about which we have already talked about. That depending upon the value of x or depending upon the value of y here, depending upon the extension or compression magnitude, our spring force magnitude will also keep on varying. Okay. So generally, to remember this for the NEET point of view, you can remember it like this, but it is not the true fact. You can remember it like this, that whatever is the work done, only 50% of that is appearing to get stored in the form of spring. Okay. Force into displacement is work. Half of it, 50%, will be the spring potential energy. But again, I am repeating it, that is not the exact fact, because here the force will keep on varying. So that half kx square comes out as the result of integration. Whenever you are dealing with variation in physics, you have to make use of calculus, differentiation and integration. So we have already talked about it. So now I am saying that suppose this force is given constant. So if force is given constant, this is constant here, clearly u is directly proportional to x. Again, it is coming out to be directly proportional straight line passing from the origin. Similarly, if x is constant in the same relation, uxf, so u is fx by 2, out of which x they are giving constant, u is directly proportional to f. Again, it will result in straight line passing from the origin. Again, you will write u is equal to fx by 2, out of which this time u is constant, spring potential energy. So f is inversely proportional to x. If f is inversely proportional to x, definitely it is a rectangular hyperbola. If it is inversely proportional to x square, it looks like a rectangular hyperbola, but not exactly the one, because that is inverse square. But it is inverse, so it is exactly a rectangular hyperbola. Are you getting it? I hope we are already always having a bit of phobia, graph problem, sir. So I'm trying to take care of that complete phobia or complete, students are reluctant to attempt the graphical problems. Whenever the graph comes in front, we are having a bit of discomfort. So I'm trying to take care of that part and making you comfortable. But yeah, keeping our focus exactly on the spring mass system today. So last one, I hope you are comfortable so you can start doing it on your own. What you can say here is that the formula, you need to recall a formula not only which involves u and f, but also that involves the quantity which has been kept constant. So u, f and k, you know the formula, spring potential energy f square by 2k, f square by 2k. Here also I have written f square by 2k for all these three graphs. So you will say u will be equal to f square by 2k, out of which k is kept constant. If k is kept constant, you will say u is directly proportional to f square. If u is directly proportional to f square, it is like this. Okay? I think that's okay. Spring potential energy is half kx square. If you isolate one kx, it is f. If you multiply and divide with k, it will come k square x square by 2k. This k square x square can be written as f square, and hence it is f square by 2k. I hope the modified version is comfortable for you. So if I try to write it as spring potential energy u, again as f square by 2k, where this f square is constant, so u is inversely proportional to k. If u is inversely proportional to k, it is going to be a rectangular hyperbola. And again I will write u is equal to f square by 2k, and it is ultimately, if you are keeping this spring potential energy constant, so you can see that F square is directly proportional to K, or this time it is a bit different. Y square is directly proportional to X. So when Y is directly proportional to X square, it is upward parabola. When X is directly proportional to Y square, it is a rightward parabola. Rightward parabola, rightward. I hope the basic variations are clear, whatever I have taken. So I can see that there are a lot of graphs on the screen, but these are the common graphs. I mean, this almost involves everything you can get in terms of graphs in physics, all the shapes and all. Okay. So in the comment section, first of all, let me know any doubts, or is it clear? If everything is clear, give me a thumbs up. If not, then tell me the doubt you are having. We will learn together. I'll just show you the screen once again. Try to revise it thoroughly. Try to get into each and every expression and then see whether you are comfortable or not. Any doubts, anyone? Hope now onwards you will never be scared from the graphical problems. Is it clear? Chaliye, take the screenshot. Yeah, I think you have taken the screenshot, and chaliye sir, let's move ahead. So what we have learned till now, a basic part regarding the spring, the basic aspect. Then I have taken almost all the graphs which you will be finding in near future. Then now we will be talking about the grouping of spring, the combination, or commonly you can say grouping of springs, and at the same time, so obviously the series grouping, parallel grouping, like that we have to talk about, and at the same time we have to understand the breaking of springs. Now why we are trying to understand the combination and breaking? Because if you remember, I told you the common question from simple harmonic motion is this one, finding the time period, and the time period formula is 2 pi under root m by k equivalent, the effective restoring constant. Okay, if you have a single spring, the effective restoring constant is the spring constant. But what if you have multiple springs connected in either series or parallel combination, or maybe any other complicated version of the combination? Few are in series, few are in parallel, like that. Then you don't deal with a single spring, you are dealing with the multiple springs. So in order to get the effective restoring constant, you have to combine them in a certain way based on certain mathematical rules. Okay, so now we are going to learn those rules of combinations. Similarly, sometimes the cases will be that they are giving you a spring and they are saying you cut the spring into 2 parts, 3 parts, equal length, unequal length, like that, and one of the part is connected to a mass for its oscillation, or else the two broken parts of the same spring are now connected in parallel, and then tell me the new time period. So while in order to deal with such kind of problems, we have to first understand the concept of breaking and combination. So I'm starting with the concept of breaking here, that suppose you have a spring, suppose the original spring is having a spring constant k naught, and now you are breaking these springs, suppose in 3 parts, having the final length ratio as x ratio y ratio z. Length ratio is given by, for the 3 parts, x ratio y ratio z. Okay, I am breaking it into 3 parts. So suppose that this broken part will have a new spring constant called kx, this broken part will have a new spring constant called ky, and this broken part will have a new spring constant called kz. I'm just writing it like this, you will understand it better now. So once more, there is an original spring given to you whose spring constant is k naught. You are suppose breaking it into 3 parts. You can break it into n number of parts. I'm just giving you a general formula. Suppose you are breaking it into 3 parts, and the length ratio of the three broken part is x ratio y ratio z, and the new spring constants will be kx, ky and kz. Then here we have to talk about the broken part spring constant kx, ky, kz, kx, ky and kz. So you will say kx will be given by, try to understand the pattern, I am not getting into the derivation, I want you to remember the results. It is k naught x plus y plus z by x. Once again, ky will be, numerator will be same here, k naught, it takes the contribution from all, x plus y plus z, but it is inversely proportional to its length ratio y, and here it is kz, that is equal to k naught, numerator will be still the same, and it is inversely proportional to the length ratio part z. Okay, so this is the situation. Suppose I say a basic example. Suppose I take a spring having the spring constant k naught, and I divide it in three parts having the length ratio as 1:2:3. 1:2:3. This is A part, this is B part, this is C part. And here I am asking you, tell me the value of KB. Tell me the value of KB. So here KB value will be equal to original spring constant k naught. Then numerator will take the contribution from all. That is 1 plus 2 plus 3. But denominator mein that will come which is its length proportion. So you will say, if you are interested in the B part, that was corresponding to the value 2, and hence substitute the value 2 in the denominator here. So it will be 3 plus 2, 5 plus 1, 6, 6 by 2, and hence the final answer is 3k0. 3k0. I hope the basic application of this formula is clear with a simple example. Okay. So k0 x plus y plus z by 3k0. I think because of the YouTube icon there, it's not clearly visible. I'll just show this to you once again. I'll just rearrange this. Suppose this is the example given to you here. Okay, and I think now it's visible. Now it's visible? Yeah. Okay. So this is all about the breaking of spring. We are not getting into the exact derivation. I just want you to stick to the results. Okay. Similarly, if we want to talk about the combination or grouping. So first of all, we will talk about the series combination. Series combination, how does it look like? What are the properties satisfied? And what is the final result? Similarly, we will be talking about the parallel combination. Again, I will say the same. How does it look like? Like how you will identify from the diagram. Second thing, what are the properties associated with the series and parallel combination? And then comes our major concern, that if you have identified that whether it is in series or parallel combination, then what is the final result of equivalent spring constant? So let us see here. Series combination mein, it will be end-to-end joined along the same line. Let us suppose I am taking 3 springs and there is a m0 mass attached to it. So first is having a spring constant k1, next is having a spring constant k2, and next is having a spring constant k3. And my concern is that I don't want to deal with 3 springs. I want to remove all of them or replace all of them with a single spring, and that single spring will have the k equivalent attached to the same mass. Practically it is required sometimes because the maintenance of 3 or more elements is a bit complicated rather than maintaining a single one. So it's always better to deal with a single mechanical component, so that if any fault arises in any kind of machinery and all, then you can simply replace this spring. But if you are using n number of springs, first of all, the diagnosis of the problem is very much complicated. I mean, you have to first identify, you have to first see that which part is basically faulty, and then you need to correspondingly replace it. But first of all, it's easy to deal with it's easy to maintain a single unit, a single element, and it's easy. Cost effectiveness also comes into the picture. So these are some basic application based things or basic practical reasons because of which you want to replace multiple springs with a single one. But here our concern is only and only theoretical. Parallel combination looks like the way you used to deal with the series and parallel combination of the resistors. Here also it will look like this in parallel. So this is suppose K1, this is suppose K2, and this is suppose K3. So first of all, I will talk about the reasons, properties, associated with it, and then I will talk about the final result. Final result is something in which we are majorly interested. So series combination may, as it is, they are all connected in the same line, I will say force is same. Force is same in all. Extension or disturbances may be same, may be different, that may differ. Disturbances, extension may be different. And the equivalent, again I am not getting into the derivation, I want you to stick with the result. In our physics syllabus, there are 4 standard combinations which we have to remember. Resistors and inductors will have similar set of results. Capacitor and spring will have a similar set of results. Capacitor and spring category and resistor and inductor category will have the exchanged results. What do I mean by that? Resistance parallel combination and spring series combination will appear to be same, which means the result will be given by 1 by Ks equivalent, that will be equal to 1 by K1 plus 1 by K2 and so on up to 1 by Kn. And a very important property, mathematical property related to this expression is that the final result will come out to be smaller than the smallest individual value. Smallest individual value, smaller than the smallest individual. All right. Once more, let's compare with the compare these with the condition or properties of the parallel combination. As it is clearly visible that if the mass gets down by x naught, then all the springs will be extended by x naught, x naught, and x naught. So you will say this time disturbances, extension, compression, whatever it is, disturbances must be same. Disturbances must be same. Forces may differ. Forces offered may differ. Okay, depending upon that may be same, that may be different depending upon the value of individual spring constraints. And finally, we are talking about the result. So Kp equivalent. So parallel spring result will be similar to that of series resistance result and series inductance result. That will be K1 plus K2 plus K3 here. But ultimately, in general, K1 plus K2 and so on up to Kn. And the property of the equivalent is that it is larger value than the largest individual value, larger than the largest, right? So just like series resistance comes out to be larger than the largest one, similarly parallel spring equivalent will come out to be bigger than the biggest one. Similarly, parallel resistance combination in electrical science has a property that it comes out to be smaller than the smallest one, which will be reflected here, that in series spring cases combination, you will have the final result as smaller than the smallest one. All right. I hope you got some more idea regarding the spring, how to deal with the spring. So it is all about the breaking of springs and combination of springs. Quickly take the screenshot. All right, so I think that's all for today. As I mentioned that whenever you are free, you can go through the screenshot for a quick revision, and don't forget to join the Telegram channel whose link is given in the description of the video. Do like and share this to all so that everyone can learn this. And yes, if you want me to teach any other topic for you, or if you want to learn any other topic from my lectures, those are already available. So you can just write on the YouTube that the name of the topic, suppose atoms and nuclei by Abhilash Jha sir physics. Okay, you will have you will get many lectures delivered by me to learn from. Okay, so all the best, enjoy.
Good morning, one and all. Today in our botany session, we are going to take the topic, the flower, right? So, we already discussed regarding the vegetative part of the flowering plants. There we have discussed regarding roots, stem, then we discussed regarding the leaf. In our today's lecture, we are going to take the reproductive morphology of the flowering plants, where we are taking flower as an organ. Now, what is a flower to a flowering plant? It is the reproductive unit. It is a reproductive unit, right? Now, which reproduction we are discussing here? We are discussing here regarding sexual reproduction, right? So, more an organism reproduce, more will be its organism of that particular species, and it will show the dominance on this planet. So, it's important for a plant to reproduce. But right now we are discussing about flowering plants. They have flower, that's why they can show the sexual reproduction. And even in the chapter sexual reproduction in flowering plant, you will find one line in introductory paragraph. All flowering plants show sexual reproduction. Reason why? Due to the presence of the flower, which is the reproductive unit of that flowering plant. Now, even you should know that a flower is a modified shoot. It is modified shoot, right? It is having the thalamus, which is present at the tip of the pedicel, right? What is pedicel? This is a stalk of a flower, right? And the tip of this pedicel is swollen, and that you call it as a thalamus. This thalamus is a condensed shoot. If I say in case of shoot, you are having stem, on the stem there is a presence or development of the leaves is there, right? And obviously it will carry buds, flower, fruits, all things are there on this shoot. This collectively you call it as a shoot, right? So if such structure is condensed, means the floral bud, when it comes out, there the stem part, we say it is condensed, now it is known as a thalamus, and that thalamus even we call it as a receptacle, right? And how many nodes are present in a complete flower? What is complete flower? We will discuss. In a complete flower, there is a presence of 1, 2, 3 and 4. 4 nodes are there, right? These types of lines you will not find on a thalamus. But to clarify the concept, I am taking that here the outermost, it is carrying the sepals, right? And inner to that, what is there? Petals. Then after that, what is there? Stamens. Then after that, what is there? Gynoecium. What is present over there? Gynoecium is present. So total how many nodes are there? Nodes in a complete flower. Here in and complete are separate, right? In complete flower, how many nodes are there? 4 nodes are there. And what is present on these nodes now? That are the floral appendages, right? What is present over there? Floral appendages. In a vegetative shoot, what is present at the nodes? Leaves are present. Can I say leaves are equivalent to the floral appendages, right? So just to remember, the origin of a flower and of shoot is same, means the axillary bud. But when it is a vegetative growth or it is not a flowering season, then bud will give rise to this shoot. But once the flowering season start and plant become mature, that axillary bud will promote to give rise to floral bud, and that floral bud give rise to the flower. The difference lies here. The nodes are carrying these floral appendages, but if it is coming out as a shoot, vegetative part, the nodes are carrying the leaves over there, right? So this is an introduction to the flower. The stalk of the flower, you call it as pedicel. Don't confuse it with the petiole. Petiole is the stalk of the leaf, right? Okay, now coming to the next part, if I show you through this diagram, you will find all the parts of the flower, like the outermost, what they are having, sepals. Just now I discussed with you. The complete whorl, if I am discussing about their whorl, complete whorl of sepals, what we call it as calyx. Complete whorl of the petals, what we call it as corolla. Complete whorl of stamens, what we call it as androecium. Complete whorl of pistils, what we call it as gynoecium. Right? So how many whorls are present right now? 4 whorls are present, one after the another. Right? So these are the parts of the flower, and do remember these two whorls or the parts that are the non-essential parts of the flower, whereas these two that you call it as, sorry, let me to say you again, these two upper, what I have written, these are the essential parts of the flower, and lower one, sepals and petals, these are the non-essential parts. What do you mean by essential parts of the flower? Which is helping in the reproduction by the formation of the gametes. But here they are not forming the gametes, but somewhere they help in the reproduction. How? Like petals, if they are colored, they are going to attract the pollinators, right? So they are helping in that process. But involvement in the sexual reproduction is by the essential parts of the flower. And these non-essential, even you call it as a accessory part of the flower, right? So those sepals and petals are non-essential, stamens and pistil are the essential parts of the flower. Now coming to the next point, one more term is there regarding the flower, that is the perianth. What is a perianth? Where the sepals and petals, these are undifferentiated. They are undifferentiated. Means they are not properly differentiated into sepals and petals. You cannot say the sepals and petals are absent. You must say they are present, but you cannot identify whether they are sepals or petals. For example, in case of lily, right? One of the picture here, it is depicting about the perianth. Can you see outer whorl is of calyx, inner one is of corolla, but you cannot differentiate between that, right? If such differentiation is not there, that you call it as a perianth. And one member of the perianth, single unit of that, you call it as tepal. Tepal is a single unit of the perianth, and the tepals together, they create a whorl that you call it as perianth, right? Even you should know about this terminology. After this, one more term is there which is linked to the flower, that is the bract. And usually students get confused the bracts with the stipules, right? Stipules are in context to the leaf, whereas bracts are in context to the flower. Now what is that? If you will see a flower, the stalk of flower, I said you that you call it as pedicel. At the base of pedicel, there is the scaly leaf-like projection which you call it as bract. Whereas at the base of the petiole, let me to write it clearly, petiole. The stalk of the leaf you call it as petiole. At the base of that leaf-like structure, that you call it as stipules. Stipules are present at the base of petiole, or you can say base of leaf, whereas the bracts are present at the base of pedicel. Now if I discuss the types of the flower based on the presence or absence of bracts, then you can find the two types of flowers are there. right? Types of flower that is based on presence or absence of the bracts. Right? What terms we are using for that? We are using the term here, the flower as a bracteate flower, or you can call it as ebracteate flower. Right? The bracteate flower where bracts are present. Here the bracts are going to be absent. Fine. So you must know about the concept of this thing, that when the bracts are present, that you call it as bracteate, and scientifically even you should know where E is given, means it will be without bracts, that flower is ebracteate flower, right? Sometime you will find the word bracteole, right? Although not given in your NCERT book, but while reading and solving your multiple choice question, you will find in the option the term bracteole as well. Now let's see what is a bracteole. When you will see, in case of flower, the pedicel is there. That pedicel, sometime it carries this scaly leaf-like structure on it. When this scaly leaf-like structure is on the pedicel, that you call it as bracteole. What we call it as bracteole, right? If it is at the base of that you call it as bract, right? Let me show you with the different color, like this one, right? If it is on the pedicel, that you call it as what? Bracteole. If it is at the base of that you call it as bract. Same term, like if it is present, you call it as bracteolate flower. If it is absent, you call it as ebracteolate flower, right? So these terms even you should know, and don't confuse the terminology of a flower with few terminology which is related to the leaf, right? Now coming to the next one, we are having the more different types of flower based on different criteria. Just now we have discussed types of flower based on the presence or the absence of the bract. Now let's talk about the types of flower based on their number of whorls, right? So if all 4 whorls are present, then such type of flower you call it as complete flower, that you call it as complete flower, right? So in a typical flower, they have all the 4 whorls, outermost calyx, then corolla, then androecium and the gynoecium. For example, here if I am taking for P, Pisum is the scientific name of that, belongs to Fabaceae family, right? And if all 4 whorls are not present, means any one or more than one whorl or whorls is or are absent, such type of flower you call it as incomplete flower, right? For example, if I am taking a unisexual flower, it will have either male part or the female part, but at least one whorl is absent over there. That will be the incomplete flower. Even I can go with one more interesting example, bougainvillea. In bougainvillea, the bracts are forming the petal-like structure. Petals are absent over there. Bougainvillea is even important example over there. How it look like this is in one example, bougainvillea. This is very common example all around you. I hope so you have seen this flower, and that is an ornamental flower, and you will find they don't have the petals, and the bracts are becoming colored over there, right? Attractive over there, right? So this is incomplete flower. Now coming to the next we are having again the types of flower. This is one criteria. Just now we have discussed types of flower based on the number of whorls, right? Now let me to complete that thing. For the types, still we are discussing about the types. Now the types of flower we are going to discuss based on the sexuality of the flower. Right? So based on the sexuality, again, two types of flower you will find, unisexual and the bisexual flower. Right? Unisexual flower is what? Which is having either stamen or pistils, right? And it is having both stamens and pistil, right? So it is having both stamens and pistils. In same flower, right? If a flower is having both stamen and pistil, such type of flower we call it as bisexual flower, as name is indicating. Even bi means two, right? Both the sexes two are present on a same flower, and if it is one is present, uni means one, if it is having either male or female or means either male or female in one flower, that you call it as unisexual flower. And please don't confuse with the term dioecious and monoecious. These terms we use in context to plant, that we will take later when you will come here. We will discuss in the sexually reproducing organism. For that one chapter is given, sexual reproduction in flowering plant. There we will discuss. Right now for flower we are using the term bisexual and unisexual. Right? Now what are the examples here? Examples for the unisexual flower. It can be the papaya, coconut can be the example, corn can be the example, which you even call it as maize. Few examples I have written, right? And bisexual flower, for example, datura, pea can be the example, hibiscus will be the example, right? These are the bisexual flowers, right? So can I say, in whole we discussed basis based on that all the four whorls are present or absent, means complete, incomplete flower we discussed, and linking that concept here now. Earlier even I said you unisexual flowers will be incomplete flower. These flowers can be incomplete flower, right? Whereas bisexual flower, looking to both are present, it never means that both male and female presence will make the flower complete. Maybe male and female parts are present, maybe calyx or corolla are absent, right? So can I say the bisexual flower can be, or can I say it will be complete flower, or it can be incomplete flower, right? If all the four whorls are there, then complete flower. If it is having male female both but not calyx and corolla, or calyx is absent, maybe corolla is absent, that depends upon example to example. But that's sure, in a bisexual flower male and female parts both are present, right? So do remember some of the concept, how it are interlinked to each other. We are discussing the types of flower based on the sexuality, right? And sometimes through the diagrams they are asking this question, like for example, if they have shown you in a flower both female and male part, obviously you have to mark it as a bisexual flower. They can give you the term, instead of stamen and pistil, they can give you the word androecium and gynoecium. If both are present, that is a bisexual. If any one is missing, that means it is unisexual. If only the female part is present, only female part is present, male is not present, that flower you call it as pistillate flower, and this flower you call it as staminate flower if it is having the stamens only. If I compare that between male and female, only male parts are there, that flower you call it as staminate flower. If only female part are there, then you call it as pistillate flower, right? So such category is a unisexual. So diagram based, even they can ask you the question showing you this diagram and asking which type of flower it is, or maybe through the examples they can ask you, right? Okay, so these are the types of flowers based on their sexuality. Now next we are going to take types of flower with respect to the symmetry. Now there are basically three different types of symmetry given in your book. One is the radial symmetry, second is the bilateral, third is asymmetry. So if the flower is having the radial symmetry, if the flower is having radial symmetry, such type of flower we call it as actinomorphic flower, right? And if the flower is having bilateral symmetry, such type of flower we call it as zygomorphic flower. And if a flower is showing asymmetry, such type of flower you call it as asymmetric flower, right? So three types of flower we are having based on the type of symmetry. One is actinomorphic, then is a zygomorphic, then is asymmetric flower, right? Okay, now let's see what do you mean by radial symmetry. Radial symmetry is indicating, for example, if I'm saying you have some spherical shape thing in your hand, for example, a ball is there, I ask you to cut into two equal halves. In any radial plane, if you are putting your knife, you can cut it into two equal halves. If the radial plane is any, this direction or this direction, and still we get two equal radial halves, such type of symmetry you call it as radial symmetry, and such flower you call it as actinomorphic flower. For example, here this radial symmetry you will find in case of mustard, the tura, even in case of chili, right? And even be sure you must know about their families as well, because newly added families are even there, like mustard, that belongs to Brassicaceae family, right? The tura and chili belongs to Solanaceae. This is already there in your syllabus, this family, right? So start learning within a chapter, whatever example given, you should know that example belongs to which family. I think so it will help you to conveniently learn the examples given in your NCERT book at last, or newly added families, right? Now let's talk about zygomorphic. What do you mean by bilateral symmetry? Bilateral symmetry means if have any structure you want to cut into two equal half, but you have only one vertical plane to cut it into two equal half. For example, like in zoology, even you have learned in human beings, we are having bilateral symmetry. And or example, in like a non-living thing, if I quote just to explain you the concept, like a teddy bear is there, you want to cut into two equal half, the plane will go vertically in one direction only. You cannot cut into horizontal, you cannot cut it in this direction, only one vertical plane is there to cut it into two equal halves. Such type of symmetry you call it as bilateral symmetry, and such type of flower you call it as zygomorphic flower. What examples will be quoted here? Example for the zygomorphic will be the pea, bean, cassia, gulmohar. All these examples belongs to the Fabaceae family, right? So Fabaceae family feature, you must remember, it is having zygomorphic flower. Last one is asymmetric, which is showing asymmetry. Asymmetry means we cannot cut anything or any of the structures into two equal half. Which structure we are talking here about? Flower. If we cannot cut the flower equally into two halves in any plane, that type of symmetry is a asymmetry, and such flower you call it as asymmetric flower. For example, here will be the canna. Canna is a type of asymmetric flower, right? So these are the types of flower based on the symmetry, right? Now let's talk about the other criteria to say the types of the flower. What can be the other criteria given in your NCERT book? One is the merosity. Merosity means how many members are present in one whorl, in one circle. If it is 3 or multiple of 3, that type of flower you call it as trimerous flower. If it is 4 or multiple of 4, that you call it as tetramerous flower. If it is 5 or multiple of 5, you call it as pentamerous flower, right? So trimerous, as the name is indicating, tri means 3 obviously, merous means merosity. I repeat, merosity is what? Number of members in the respective whorls if they are the 3 or multiple of 3. That type of flower you call it as trimerous. This is its merosity. Tetramerous will be showing 4 or multiple of 4. Pentamerous 5 or multiple of 5, right? And do remember, trimerous is commonly found in monocots, whereas the tetramerous and pentamerous, these are found commonly in dicots, right? So these even helping to classify the dicots from the monocots, right? And please be sure you must not confuse with the term tricyclic, tetracyclic, pentacyclic, like that. What is this thing? You will learn here. When you will come here, we will discuss about that. We are having the floral diagram. Based on that, we are having that terms. I repeat, tricyclic, the term I am using now as the suffix is the cyclic, not merous, right? So there is a slight difference, not slight, I must say now, a big difference based on your NEET exam. If you will opt for the wrong option, you have to pay for your marks, right? So you must be careful about the terminology. Trimerous is related to merosity. Cyclic term we will discuss in the floral diagrams, right? So right now the term suffix we are using here, merous, not the cyclic, right? So this is the type of the flowers we have discussed based on the merosity, right? Now we have to discuss the types of flower based on the position of the gynoecium with respect to other floral parts which are present on a thalamus, right? So types of flower based on the position of floral parts on the thalamus, especially gynoecium as compared to other part, right? Based on that, 3 different types of flowers are there. What is the first category shown in the picture? I have taken the diagram in your NCERT book. They have provided. This is hypogynous flower, whereas these one are the perigynous flower, and this one is the epigynous flower, right? Now hypogynous, hypo means below, peri means around, whereas epi stands for above. Now these terms, if I am using as a below, around or above, these terms are used in context to the parts of flower like sepals, petals and stamen, not the gynoecium, right? So if all these parts, sepal, petals and the stamens, if they are present below to the gynoecium, right? What thing is below? Sepal, petals and the stamens. If they are below to the gynoecium, such flower you call it as hypogynous flower, right? But ovary now is going to be superior here, right? The ovary is going to be superior. In perigynous, what happened? To understand this thing, better to have a look in this diagram. Here the thalamus will form a cup-shaped structure, and on the rim of that there is the presence of sepal, petals and the stamens, and they try to reach at the same level of the gynoecium, right? If they try to reach at the same level and thalamus form a cup-shaped structure and outer three walls are present on the rim of that, such type you call it as perigynous. In this approach, what will happen? In the ovary, half part is upside and half part is remain embedded in the thalamus, right? Such type of ovary, you call it as half inferior, or you can say it is a half superior ovary, or you can say it is a half inferior ovary, right? Now in epigynous, let me to discuss epigynous, then I will come back on the perigynous, this diagram, right? In this case, in epigynous, what happened? The thalamus start growing so much that it completely cover the ovary part. I repeat, the thalamus grows so much that it completely covers the ovary, and the wall of ovary is fused with the thalamus, right? Wall of ovary that is going to fuse with the thalamus, and all other parts which are outer will be higher than the gynoecium, means above, but the ovary has become what? Inferior here, right? Such type of flower we call it as epigynous flower. But if you compare this and this diagram, here in perigynous the wall is not fused with the wall of ovary, but here wall of the ovary is fused with the thalamus. I repeat once again, here the wall of the ovary is not fused with the thalamus, but here wall of the ovary have been fused with the thalamus, right? So such category again comes under perigynous, right? And this one comes under epigynous. Now let's look for their example. For hypogynous, what example in your NCERT book they have written? Mustard, datura, even they have given China rose, even what they have given actually, datura is even the example, but as per your NCERT if I go, then brinjal they have given, right? I am excluding from here the datura, being on that page they are not mentioning, but it will be there. Being Solanaceae family, that is hypogynous, so brinjal even can be even datura, but I am going particular on that page. Mustard, brinjal, China rose, right? Now which families? Mustard from the Brassicaceae, brinjal from Solanaceae, China rose from Malvaceae family, right? Now perigynous, what will be the example over there? Rose, plum and peach, as per your NCERT book, right? And for epigynous, what will be the example over there? Guava, cucumber, even the rare florets of sunflower, right? So families of these example are not in your syllabus, so that's why I am not saying. Even for guava and cucumber is not in your family, but you should know about the sunflower family. Sunflower belongs to Asteraceae family, which even is known as a Compositae family. What is the other name of Asteraceae? Compositae, right? So why it is required in a running in this chapter? Because at the last you have to put pressure on your mind to learn it, but if small steps you are covering within a chapter, I think so the families are not much tough for you. No doubt you have to work hard on that even, but still if you have covered some points within a chapter, little bit it can become easy for you, right? So what we have discussed, types of flower based on the position of the flower parts on the thalamus, right? So that we have discussed the types of flowers, right? So in this way, we have completed in our today's session the flower. There we have discussed the parts of flower, then we have discussed the types of flower. See, the types of flower are much in detail given in your NCERT book. Detail, I mean to say that the different criteria to make them into types. Please go through that all very nicely with the example, because they will ask more of the example from such type of the topics, right? So please go through this topic very nicely so that you can learn the families at last given in the morphology of flowering plants, right? So I hope so you are getting clarity on that. If you already covered this topic, I hope so you have revised along with while listening the lecture. And please do go through the multiple choice question and assess yourself which point is weak for you. Is that example part or the diagram part or the concept part, and put work and hard work on that and revisions on that topic, right? So that's all for today. In our next session, we will discuss more in detail about non-essential and essential part of the flower. Thanks a lot, students.
Good morning to all. Welcome back. Today topic is transmission of impulses. In the yesterday topic, we have discussed about generation and conduction of nerve impulse throughout the axon. Now that impulse has reached to the end of the axon. So how this impulse is transferring from one neuron to another neuron is the topic. So a nerve impulse is transferred from one neuron to another by means of synapse. So this is transmission. So how the impulses are transmitted from one neuron to another neuron means here, that is through this synapse here. So what is the definition of this synapse means? Here, a synapse is formed by a presynaptic membrane. Presynaptic membrane means here that axon membrane. Plus postsynaptic membrane. So a presynaptic membrane, next to postsynaptic membrane. Postsynaptic membrane means here the dendritic membrane. The dendritic membrane. So these two membranes, which may be or not separated, may or may not be. May or may not be separated by a gap, and that gap is known as synaptic cleft or synaptic cleft. So this is the definition of synapse given in the textbook here. So synapse is made up of a presynaptic membrane, postsynaptic membrane, and these two membranes are may or may not be separated by a gap called synaptic cleft. This is the one. So this is first neuron and this is second neuron. Here these are known as synaptic knobs. These are the knobs here. This one we have to consider as presynaptic membrane. This is presynaptic membrane, and next one here, this is postsynaptic membrane, that is dendrite membrane. In between these two, some space will be there or a gap is there. This gap is known as synaptic cleft here, and overall this structure is synapse. This one. So, synapse is a presynaptic membrane, that is, this is axon, terminal, and next postsynaptic membrane or neuron, which we are considering as a dendrite side here, or this is next neuron. This is next neuron here, which may or may not be separated by a cleft here. Next one. There are two types of synapse. Synapses are of two types. What are those two types means here? One is electrical and another one is chemical here. Electrical synapse, and next one is here chemical. What is this electrical one means? Even in this case also, it has presynaptic membrane, the presynaptic membrane and postsynaptic membrane. Membrane are in close proximity. Close proximity. It means in between two neurons, a small gap will be there. In between two neurons, a very small gap will be there. So, because both are very close to each other here, very close to each other. Presynaptic and postsynaptic membrane are in close synaptic close proximity. And next one is here, there will be a little synaptic gap. So that type of synapses are known as electrical synapses. Next, what is chemical means here? In this case also, a presynaptic membrane, and postsynaptic membrane. Presynaptic and postsynaptic membrane are separated by fluid filled cavity or fluid filled gap. Same, this fluid filled gap is known as synaptic cleft. It means in this case you can observe some gap, but whereas in the first case here very little gap will be there. So this is the major difference between electrical as well as chemical one here. This one. This is electrical. So this is first neuron and this is second neuron or next neuron here. And this membrane we are calling as presynaptic membrane. This membrane is known as presynaptic membrane here, and this one is postsynaptic. And here in between these two, a very little gap will be there. So where the action potential reaches to the end of the synaptic knob, and then from there it will directly jumps to the next one. And this type of conduction is fast conduction. It is actually fast conduction. So how do these impulses are transferring means the transmission of nerve impulses which takes place across this electrical synapse is similar to the transmission of impulse along the axon. So whatever we have discussed yesterday, that same type of electrical impulse conduction will takes place in this electrical synapse. But here the benefit is it is a fast conduction. But it is rare in our system. This is important point here. Which of the following synapse is rare in the human body? Means the answer is here electrical. And this second one is chemical. The second one is chemical synapse, and same thing, this is presynaptic and this is postsynaptic. The postsynaptic may be dendrite, this is dendrite, and this is axon. In between it is separated by a fluid filled gap. That gap we are calling as synaptic cleft. But how the transmission of impulses will take place in the second type means, so whenever the axon, whenever this action potential reaches to the terminal, it induces the release of neurotransmitters. It induces the release of neurotransmitters into the cleft. From the cleft, it will binds to receptors. It binds to receptors present on postsynaptic membrane. As a result, that action potential will passes to adjacent neuron also. In this case, the transmission of impulse is taking place through the neurotransmitters, that is chemicals. That's what it is known as chemical synapse. But whereas in this case, there is no chemicals or there is no neurotransmitter, the electrical synapse, in the case of electrical synapse, the action potential is passing from one neuron to another neuron just like a jumping way here. So for that reason, it is a fast conduction, but it is very rare in our body, and most of the transmission will take place by means of chemical way only. Next, same thing. So this is electrical synapse. Action potential is reaching. This is action potential, it is reaching, and it will pass us to the next one. It is passing to the next one, which is known as fast conduction. Fast conduction. But whereas in this chemical one here, whenever the action potential is reaching here, it induces the release of neurotransmitters into the cleft, that is into the gap, and later on these neurotransmitters are binding to the receptors, and it causes the opening of ion channels, and then it will continues the same action potential to the next one. Even this is also fast here, but comparatively this is the faster one. This is the difference between electrical as well as chemical here. So this is some more differences here. What about electrical means? The electrical conduction is fast, but whereas here this is slow. Actually this is also fast, but comparatively slow. When you compare with the electrical, it is slow. Next, what about the synaptic cleft? This synaptic cleft distance here, this is a gap one here. Next, this is the mechanism. This is the mechanism. First, I will write the mechanism. First point. Action potential reaches or arrived at axon terminal. So this is mechanism of chemical synapse. So now we are discussing about the mechanism of chemical synapse. The action potential reaches or arrived at axon terminal. Whenever it will releases to axon terminal, that is synaptic knob. These are synaptic vesicles. These vesicles are rich in neurotransmitters. Inside it has neurotransmitters, that is chemicals. Neurotransmitters here. Now the action potential has reached. Now the action potential has reached to the synaptic knob. So whenever it will reaches to the synaptic knob, it induces opening of calcium channels. It induces the opening of calcium channels. So where are these calcium channels are present means they are present here. They are present at synaptic knob. So whenever the action potential reaches to this one, immediately these channels will open. These channels will open and it causes inflow of calcium. It causes inflow of calcium. So this is known as calcium influx. It leads to calcium influx, and this calcium influx triggers. It will triggers the movement. So right now these synaptic vesicles are little bit far from, what is this membrane? This is pre-synaptic membrane. So in the absence of action potential here, all these synaptic vesicles are little bit far away from the presynaptic membrane. But whenever the action potential reaches to end here, that time it leads to calcium influx, and these calcium influx immobilizes this vesicles towards the membrane, here. So it triggers mobilization or movement. Mobilization or movement of synaptic vesicles towards presynaptic membrane or presynaptic membrane. Earlier it was a little bit far, but now it started to migrate, or it started to move towards the membrane side. So once they will reach us to the membrane side, now all are reaching to the periphery like this. All are going to reach to the periphery, and then they starts to fuse. They starts to fuse with membrane. Like this. So the next one is here, the synaptic vesicles reaches close to the membrane. Which membrane? Close to presynaptic membrane. Once they will reach us to membrane, they starts to fuse and fuses with the presynaptic membrane. So this is known as fusion. Here fusion has done. So whenever fusion will takes place, it leads to release of neurotransmitters. It leads to release of neurotransmitters into the cleft here. This one. So these are the neurotransmitters, and all these neurotransmitters they will release into the cleft. So the first step is here, whenever action potential reaches or arrived at the axon terminal, it induces the opening of this channel called calcium channel, and it causes calcium influx. That calcium influx, it triggers the mobilization of these vesicles towards or close to the presynaptic membrane. Once they will reach us to the presynaptic membrane, these vesicles fuses with membrane. Once the fusion is done here, it causes release of neurotransmitters, that is chemicals. into a fluid filled space. Into a fluid filled space. That space is known as cleft. That is synaptic cleft. Okay. Next, once the neurotransmitters released into the cleft, next step is here. This is pre and this is postsynaptic membrane. This postsynaptic membrane has receptors. It has receptors here. So this is previous question. Where does the receptors present? Means the receptors which are present on postsynaptic membrane here. Next, these neurotransmitters binds, because already they entered the cleft here. Once they enter the cleft, they starts to bind. They starts to bind with the receptor. The neurotransmitters binds to receptors present on postsynaptic membrane. Yeah. Whenever this neurotransmitter binds to this receptor, it causes opening of channels. It causes opening of channels. It causes opening of channels. Because of opening of channels here, ion influx will take place. Some ions will enter. Actually, that is sodium ion. The sodium ion influx will take place here. It binds to post 1 and then it causes opening of ion channels. Present on post membrane. Present on postsynaptic membrane. Because of opening of this channel, it leads to entry of ions or influx of ions. It leads to entry of ions into the next neuron here. Because of entry of neurons, it generates action potential. It generates action potential in the adjacent neuron also. It will generate action potential in the adjacent neuron here. So in this way, the impulse is transferring from one neuron to another neuron here. So whatever the action potential is generated, this is new action potential. This is actually new action potential. This new action potential may be excitatory or inhibitory. Always we cannot say it is excitatory or inhibitory. It depends on the type of neurotransmitter here. So whatever the action potential is generated on adjacent neuron, it may be excitatory or inhibitory. Or inhibitory here, and this excitatory or inhibitory one, it depends on type of neurotransmitter here. So now you observe this picture. In this one, these white lines are action potential. Whenever that action potentials are reaching towards the end, it causes opening of calcium channels. The opening of calcium channels, it causes calcium influx It causes calcium influx. So before these vesicles are far here, whenever the calcium influx will take place, it triggers the movement. It triggers the movement of synaptic vesicles close to presynaptic membrane. Close to presynaptic membrane, and so that it results in fusion. This is known as fusion. It results in fusion. This is actually fusion of vesicles. Fusion of vesicles, it causes releasing of neurotransmitters. These yellow dots are neurotransmitters into cleft. This is fluid filled gap into the cleft. So once they are released to the cleft, those neurotransmitters comes and binds to receptor present on post-synaptic membrane here. So the binding of neurotransmitters, it triggers the opening of channels. Because of opening of channels, it leads to entry of ions inside, and it will generate a new action potential, and that new action potential may be excitatory or inhibitory, and it depends on neurotransmitters here. Okay. This is the mechanism. Next, now we'll discuss some questions here, previous questions regarding to this nervous system. This is a recent question. Here. I hope everyone understood this topic. So this is a recent question here. Match the following question. Match the following here. So pons. What is the pons here? The pons acts as a bridge, and it connects different regions of the brain. Pons. What is the pons here? The pons is a part of. It is a part of hindbrain, and their role is to connect the different regions of the brain here. Next, hypothalamus. What is the role of hypothalamus? The hypothalamus plays an important role in thermoregulation, urge for eating as well as drinking. Along with that, it has some special cells. Those special cells are neurosecretory cells, and these neurosecretory cells secretes hormones. Hypothalamic hormones here. It secretes hypothalamic hormones. Next, medulla. Medulla oblongata. It is a last part of hindbrain, and it continues as spinal cord. And what is the role of this medulla here? This medulla role is it controls respiration. Next, cardiovascular reflexes also. Cardiovascular reflexes as well as secretions. And next one is cerebellum. Even the cerebellum is also a portion of hindbrain. And the role of this cerebellum is here. It provides additional space for neurons, as well as here it regulates the body balance as well as posture here. Then the answer is A3, B4, C2 as well as D1. So the answer is fourth one. Answer is fourth one here. Yes, Charan, very good. Fourth is the answer. And next, this is NEET 2023 question. NEET 23. So the parts of human brain that helps in regulation of sexual behavior, expression of excitement, pleasure, rare, etc. So all these are known as emotions. They are known as emotions here. So which structure is involving in emotions here? That is amygdala. amygdala is known as, it is known as emotion center. It is known as emotion center. And where do this amygdala present? It is present in limbic system. It is present in limbic system. Limbic system has three regions. One is amygdala, second one is here hippocampus, and third one is here inner parts of, these are NCERT lines, inner parts of cerebral hemispheres. Inner parts of cerebral hemispheres. But along with limbic system, along with hypothalamus. Yes, the answer is very good, Charan, once again. So here along with limbic system as well as hypothalamus, it involves, these two involves in regulation of sexual behavior, next emotion control and motivation. But in this question they have mentioned only emotion, but anyway the answer is the fourth one here. Next one, this is NEET 2022 question. 22. So select the incorrect. First underline, they are asking correct or incorrect. So incorrect statement regarding today's topic, synapse. The membranes of pre and post synaptic neurons are in close proximity in electrical synapse. This statement is right or wrong? This is right or wrong? Correct. This is actually correct here. Next, second one, the electrical current can directly from one neuron into another neuron across, because it can directly jump from one neuron to another neuron. Yes, this is also correct. Why it can jump from one neuron to another neuron means because the gap is very little, very little. Next, chemical synapses uses neurotransmitters. This is also correct. Impulse transmission across a chemical synapse is always, no. In textbook they have given it is always slower. It is always slower than across the electrical synapse. So this statement is incorrect. Yes, good, Charan. So this is incorrect one. And next, this is some old question here. Depolarization of axolemma. What is axolemma here? Axolemma is nothing but an axon membrane. Depolarization of axolemma during nerve conduction takes place because of equal amounts of sodium and potassium move out across the axolemma? No. Why do the depolarization takes place? In yesterday class I said depolarization occurs due to sodium influx. It means entry of sodium inner side due to sodium influx. Then second point is sodium move inside and potassium. Yes, B is the answer. Okay, B is the answer. Here they have given more sodium out. No, none of this. No. So B is the answer. Next question. This is next question here. The junction between the axon of one neuron and the dendrite of next. This is also today's topic, like this. Axon and dendrite of next neuron is known as a synapse. Actually, synapse is a junction point, a junction, but that junction we are calling as synapse. Next one. Which of the following is regarded as unit of nervous tissue? This is old question and this is easy one. Which is the main one here? That is neurons. Because neurons which acts as structural and functional units. Structural and functional unit. Is it excitable cell or non-excitable cell? Generally the neurons are excitable cells here. Next, the Nissil granules. Next one is here, the Nissil granules of nerve cells are made up of. So first of all, where do these Nissil granules are present? These Nissil granules, they are present in cyton and dendrites. They are present in cyton and dendrites, but absent. These granules are absent in axon. And these Nissil granules, they are nothing but endoplasmic reticulum plus ribosomes. Endoplasmic reticulum plus ribosomes. These two plays an important role in protein synthesis. So the answer is ribosome. Nerve cells are made up of means there is ribosome, and what is the role of this Nissil granules means here it plays an important role in protein synthesis. Here neuron. Next one. What used to be described as, again same Nissil granule question. Nissil granules in a nerve cell are now identified as, almost it looks the same only, and it is now identified as means, again ribosomes only answer. Okay, again it is ribosomes because Nissil granules are nothing but endoplasmic reticulum plus ribosome. Next, which of the following statement is correct? They are asking correct for node of Ranvier of the nerve. First of all, what is this node of Ranvier? This is actually a gap. A gap present between myelin sheath. Here. Okay. What is neurolemma here? Any idea what is neurolemma? Swan cell covering. Swan cell covering is called neurolemma. It is known as neurolemma, and this neurolemma is discontinuous. No, actually it is continuous. Neurolemma is a continuous one. So that is wrong. Second one, myelin sheath is discontinuous. Yes, actually myelin sheath is discontinuous. Because of discontinuous nature only, these nodes are formed. Suppose this is axon terminals. This is myelin sheath. In between some gap will be there. That is known as node of Ranvier. So in this case, there is no myelin sheath. Here myelin sheath is there. But in the gap, there is no myelin sheath. So the second option they have given us, myelin sheath is discontinuous. Yes, it is discontinuous only. Next, the third option they have given us, both neurolemma and myelin sheath are discontinuous. No. Which one is discontinuous? Only myelin sheath is discontinuous, but whereas neurolemma is continuous. So this is wrong. It is covered by myelin sheath. No. Is there any myelin sheath? No myelin sheath. It is covered. No, it is not covered actually. So wrong. Then the answer is B. Okay, then the answer is B here. Yes. So that's all for today. Thank you very much.
Good morning, everyone. I hope it is audible and visible to you, right? Good morning. Good morning, everyone. Okay, good morning. Good morning. Fine. So, yesterday we were doing topic hybridization, right? So we did one of the method using structures how we can find hybridization, right? Like I told you, the short way. Good morning, Charan. The short way is how to find hybridization is counting number of sigma bonds formed by that atom and plus the lone pair. Okay, for the atom you're finding hybridization, just count how many sigma bonds it is forming and how many lone pairs it is having. That number will give you directly hybridization, right? One more method I discussed. Okay, the formula. From that formula we did some questions. I'm revising that formula and we will do some more questions. Fine. So the formula was how we can find hybridization. The second shortcut method I told you yesterday also, it is 1 by 2. Yes, number of valence electrons, okay, the atom is having, plus number of monovalent atom present, okay, and I will say here I am writing plus for the negative charge. If our molecule is not neutral, it is ion. So the negative charge present, you have to add that much electrons, because negative charge means gain of electron, right? So I am saying plus here, it is the number of negative charge. N means negative charge, right? And you have to do minus for the positive charge, right? Clear? This NOP will be used only when our given molecule is not a neutral molecule, it's an ion actually, right? So I'm saying once again, number of valence electrons, number of monovalent atom present there, negative charge, and plus for negative charge, minus for positive charge, because positive charge means loss of electrons. Fine, right? So like example I am taking, first of all, a neutral atom I am taking, like if I am having imagine I am having XeF4. Okay, I am taking XeF4. So it's very easy to find its hybridization. Definitely I am finding for xenon here. Formula is what? 1 by 2. Xenon here is having how many valence electrons? 8 valence electrons are present in xenon. Fluorine is a monovalent atom because it will make how many bonds? 1 bond, right? So I will say 4. 8 plus 4, 12 divided by 2. How much coming? 6, right? And you know 6 means what? sp3d2. Okay. One more example I will take here, like we can have here PCl5, right? I want to find the hybridization of phosphorus here. Fine. You will see it's 1 by 2. For phosphorus, you will say how many are the valence electrons? 5. Chlorine is a monovalent atom. Yes, chlorine is a monovalent atom. So that's why I can add here 5 plus 5, how many? 10 divided by 2, how much coming? 5. 5 means it is what? sp3d hybridized. It is sp3d hybridized. Very good, Sharan. Right? Clear, bacha? Next thing is, if I take example of you can say SO3. If I take again SO3, can you find hybridization of SO3? Right? How you can find? Again, definitely I am finding for sulfur. How you can find? It is 1 by 2. Sulfur is what? 6 valence electrons. And be careful, oxygen is a bivalent atom, so you cannot count in monovalent atoms. So there is no monovalent atom, so I will leave it this part. 6 plus 0 only. No monovalent atom here. So 6 divided by how much? 2. So what is coming? 3. 3 means what? sp2. Clear, everyone? Right? Very good, Charan. Okay. Now I am taking some ions. Like I told you, for ions we have to be careful about the negative charge or positive charge, we have to remove electrons or we have to add extra electrons there, right? So for example, I am taking NH4 plus and I want to find the hybridization of nitrogen in this. So I will use our shortcut. What is the hybridization? It's 1 by 2. Fine, 1 by 2. Now nitrogen have how many valence electrons? 5 valence electrons. Hydrogen is a monovalent atom, right? So I can write here 4. All hydrogens, definitely hydrogen is a monovalent atom, so 4. And plus charge. For plus charge, I have to remove electrons. 1 plus charge means you have to remove 1 electron. So I will write what here? Minus 1. Very good. So 5 plus 4, 9. 9 minus 1, 8. 8 divided by 2. What is coming? 4. 4 means what? sp3. Great. Yes, sir. Good answer. Next one, if I say, okay, I am taking some negative charge thing. I am having CO3 2 negative. Carbonate ion. We are having carbonate ion. Now find the hybridization for this stuff. What is that? 1 by 2 here. It's 1 by 2, right? Carbon, how many valence electrons? 4 valence electrons. Oxygen is a bivalent atom, so nothing to add. Minus 2. 2 negative charge means I will add here 2 electron, right? Very good. So 4 plus 2, 6 divided by 2. What is coming? 6 divided by 2, 3. 3 means it is sp2 hybridized. It is sp2 hybridized. Fine. I hope you got the points, right? Now I will give you and you will answer the questions. I have taken one example, all types. Now you will answer, right? Women Narayana is saying something. I don't understand Telugu, beta. I know only one word, Telugu Radu, I think, right? Only Hindi or English. Fine. Okay. The next thing is, I'm taking the next slide. Please try these questions. Okay. Okay, I'm giving as question. Please. First one is, I'm having here P Cl3F2. You see, very easily you can do these questions with this formula. Second, I am taking here, imagine we are having XeO2F2, or we are having here XeOF4, right? Or I am giving you some other ion here, ClO4 minus, or you can take NO2 plus. So please try. First, give me the answer of first one, that is PCl3F2. Yes, everyone, give me the answer for PCl3F2. Okay, Charan, give the answer. Yes, remaining PCl3F2. Fast, fast. Good, bacha. Right answer. Yes, beta. NSG. Viman Narayana, give answer. Fast, fast. Okay. So first I am telling, you can try the next one now. Phosphorus have how many valence electrons? 5 valence electrons. Chlorine is a monovalent atom. Fluorine also a monovalent atom, right? So what's here? So we are having 5 here, and these are monovalent atoms. So 5 plus 5, 10. Chlorine as well as fluorine is a monovalent atom. So 10 divided by 2, what is coming? 5. 5 means what? sp3d. What is coming? sp3d. Very good, Charan. Next one, if we go for xenon here, beta, we want to find its hybridization, right? It's 1 by 2. Right? Xenon have, okay, very good. Xenon have 8 valence electrons. Oxygen is a bivalent atom or monovalent? Oxygen is bivalent. Monovalent, which one? Fluorine. So I will say 8 valence electrons plus 2. Why 2? Because fluorine are monovalent. So 8 plus 2, 10 divided by 2. What is coming? 5. 5 means what? sp3d. Very good. Again, same thing. Good. XeOF4. Tell me. What about XeO4? 1 by 2. 8 valence electrons, right? But for oxygen, monovalent. What is it? 4 here. Fluorine are monovalent, right? Good. So 8 plus 4. How much? 8 plus 4, how many? 12. Yes, 12 divided by 2. How much coming, beta? 6. It is coming sp3d2. Yes, everyone. I hope it is clear. So easily you can answer your questions in this way, right? Next thing is we are having here ClO4 minus. The ClO4 minus, right? Here we are having good Charan hybridization. It's half. Chlorine is having how many valence electrons? 7. Oxygen is a bivalent. I will leave that part. Minus charge means I will add 1, right? 7 plus 1, 8 divided by 2. What is coming? 4. 4 means what? sp3. Good, good. Next one, if I say NO2 plus. Now answer for NO2 plus. NO2 plus. But it will, no, court will decide that part. Okay. Now the result came, and yes, cutoff is little high. There is no doubt in that. But yes, court will decide that part. Like, was there any issue? Was there any real issue in the paper, or maybe students are working so hard? That's why so many students are getting so high marks. Okay, so let the court decide. You just keep working hard. Okay. Next part is, if you see the NO2 plus. Now NO2 plus we are having here hybridization is 1 by 2. N is having how many valence electrons? 5 valence electrons. Right? Now O is a bivalent, so leave this part. Plus charge. Plus means beta what? Minus 1, na? Okay. 5 minus 1, 4 remaining. 4 divided by 2, how much coming? 2. 2 means what? Sp. 2 means what? Sp. Clear? This way, by the formula, you can find easily the hybridization. I hope all of you are now comfortable in solving these questions using both the way I told you. By the structure you can find, or by this formula you can also find. Structure will help you in all the questions, typical large molecules, whatever. But these formulas help you mainly in small structures like this, where one center atom is there and remaining are surrounding only. Yes, beta? Okay, fine. Now, next thing, this is the way we can find the hybridization. Now, what is the actual meaning of hybridization? We will go for that part also, because some theoretical question they can ask from that part. Okay, so we will understand that also. Okay, so let us understand it. What is the meaning? Actually, what is the real meaning of hybridization? Up to now, we have seen how we can find the hybridization of our atom. Now, what is the actual meaning of that hybridization? Okay, I will take one of the example. Like I can take example of CH4. Then I will write the theoretical points also, because they can ask assertion reason questions also, or they can ask statement type question. Right? We know that. This is CH4. Okay. Now, if you see pure carbon, I am taking just only carbon. Only carbon have 6 electrons. So configuration what? 1s2, 2s2, and 2p2. Right? It is our valence shell of carbon having 4 valence electrons. And if you draw this valence shell, you will see 2s2, the 2 electrons. And in P also we are having 2 electrons, right? As you can see, when you write its electronic configuration, carbon is having 2 unpaired, or I will say 2 half-filled orbitals. But in the structure you can see, carbon have to make 4 bonds. That's why it need 4 half-filled orbitals. But neutral carbon or normal carbon in isolated state having only how many? 2 half-filled orbitals. So definitely something will happen which will do some changes. Like here, when hydrogen will approach. Now hydrogen is approaching carbon. Imagine hydrogen is a guest and carbon have to modify its things so that it can make 4 bonds with hydrogen. Carbon will say, like its name is 2s orbital, its name is what? 2p orbital. So carbon will say to its orbitals, listen orbitals, let us intermix and form a new type of orbitals which we call them hybrid orbitals, right? Like if you see these 4 orbitals, this one of the s orbital and these 3 orbitals will intermix with each other and will make a new type of orbitals. What do we call them? We call them hybrid orbitals. Here you can see s and p. 2s have lesser energy than 2p, right? But later on, when they will intermix with each other and they will redistribute their energies, the new orbitals formed, which is known as hybrid orbitals, will have same energy. Like if I am mixing these 1 and 3, 4 orbitals, so new 4 orbitals will be formed. These are atomic orbitals, simply pure atomic orbitals, but now what are these? These are known as hybrid orbitals. And this process is known as what? Hybridization. Okay, you can see here 1s is mixing with 3p. So the name for each of these orbitals is what? sp3, sp3, sp3 and what? sp3. The orbitals formed now have equal energy. You see there is no energy gap. All are degenerate orbitals. Equal energy, even same shape. These were the pure orbitals of carbon. To make the compound, it made adjustments. It intermixed its orbitals and formed new type of orbitals known as hybridized orbitals. And this process of intermixing is known as what? Is known as hybridization. So this whole process from here to here, if I say beta, this process from here to here, this is known as hybridization, right? So now these all 4 orbitals are same in energy, right? Are degenerate, and here total how many electrons were there? 4 only. So I can show now it is all are having single, because all are equal in energy. So I will give them 1 electron. Fine, clear? So now you can see, now I have 4 orbitals with the 4 orbitals which are half filled. So now hydrogen will come. Now 4 hydrogens will come and will make bonds like this. Okay, so this process is known as hybridization. So how they can ask questions from here? It's theoretical question. So I will write some 4-5 points. If they ask theoretical question, you can answer very easily, right? First of all, the definition of hybridization I will go, right? What is the definition? As I said, intermixing. It's a very important topic. In every chapter you will find this hybridization. So that's why intermixing of atomic orbitals of an atom to redistribute their energies, and form a new type of orbitals known as hybrid orbitals. A new type of orbitals known as hybrid orbital, right? Clear? Bacha, fine. Okay, so what is the hybridization? Mixing of orbitals to redistribute their energies and to form a new type of orbitals known as what? Hybrid orbital, right? Yes, Charan. Yes, if you will ask, the bond is formed between orbitals, so sp3 will make hydrogens s orbital. There is no doubt in that. Okay, we'll discuss these points. We'll come to that point. Okay, orbital wise if we compare, right? So first point. Now the second point is, it was the definition only. The second point is, if you see carefully, only those orbitals can intermix with each other. Only those orbitals can intermix with each other which are having comparable energies, or you can say almost same energy, or you can say if there is energy difference, it will be very less. any orbital cannot mix with any orbital. If they are having a large gap in energies, you cannot intermix those orbitals. Getting my point? You can intermix only those orbitals with each other which are having a low or little gap in their energies. Fine. So if you look at this part, here I am writing only, okay, other points, only orbitals with comparable energies. Right? Or I can say almost similar energy. Can intermix to form hybridorbital. Right? Beta. So only those orbitals can intermix with each other to form a new type of orbitals which are comparable in energy. Like imagine I am having 80 rupees, my brother is having 90 rupees, other brother also 90 rupees. So our money is almost same, comparable. So we can intermix and divide like equally, right? So if there are 2-3 persons with equal type of energies or almost same or very little difference, then they can intermix with each other to make hybrid orbitals. Okay, Shishu beta, listen once again. I am saying once again here. The energy of 2s orbital is very close to the energy of 2p orbital. Or I can say the energy difference is very low. So these orbitals, so this to have same energy, and these 2s have lesser than which one? 2p, but very little difference is there. So only those orbitals can intermix with each other which are having same energy or almost same, or I can say very little difference. I cannot intermix 2s orbital with 7p because there is a lot of energy difference in those orbitals, right? I think we are clear. Yes, Shishu beta? Okay, fine. The next point is, if you look carefully, tell me, now I am mixing here these 4 orbitals. I am mixing this orbital and these 3 orbital. Tell me, here this orbital was full filled. This orbital is half filled. This orbital is what? Empty. So all type of orbitals can intermix with each other. If an orbital is full fill or half fill or empty, all these orbitals, all type of orbitals can intermix and make hybrid orbitals. The condition is the energy must be similar or very close to each other. Fine, right? So the point is, I will say all type. All type means what I mean by this. All type, that is fulfilled. All type means fulfilled or half filled or which one? Or I can say you can say empty. Orbitals can intermix, right, to form what? To form hybrid orbital, right? I hope we are clear. Okay, so there is no condition. Half filled, full filled, empty, all can mix with each other. The condition is energy must be comparable, energy must be almost same. Is bacha? Are we clear up to here? So please finish up to here. I will take the next slide. Finish up to here. Okay, fine. Next one, which if we see the next point, it was s orbital. These were p orbitals, but after the mixing, the orbitals formed. These orbitals are all are sp3, 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 sp3. Their energies are exactly same, and the new orbitals formed will have same energy as well as same shape also. One more thing I will say, if I am mixing total 4 orbitals, the new orbitals formed are also how many? 4. If I will mix 6 orbitals, the new orbitals formed will also be how many? 6 only. Okay, so I am writing those points. First I told you the conditions which orbitals can intermix. Now I am discussing the points regarding the new orbitals formed. These 2-3 points are about the which orbitals can intermix with each other. Now orbitals are formed, so I am discussing 2-3 points about these orbitals, right, Bacha? Okay, fine. The point is number of hybrid orbitals formed. Number of hybrid orbitals formed will be same as number of orbitals intermixed. The number of hybrid orbitals formed will be same as that the number of intermixed. If total 4 orbitals are mixing together, so new formed will be also 4, right? The next thing, the hybrid orbitals formed, will have same shape and energy. All orbitals will have same shape and same energy. Right? What I mean by this point, imagine in the last example I told you, I mixed one of the s orbital and 3 of the p orbitals. Okay, I am showing here. Imagine I am mixing one of the s orbital here. This is s orbital, okay. This is a p orbital. Imagine px, one is py, one is pz, okay. S orbital, like if I say here, I am mixing these 4 orbitals, one is s, other remaining are p. S is spherical, p orbitals are dumbbell. But when you will intermix and make new type of orbitals, you will see the new orbitals formed will have same shape. It is S, okay, these are P, these are Px, Py, Pz, you can say, right? But after the intermixing, the new orbital formed will have this type of shape. You see, all looks like same. All are same in shape. And even the energy also what? Same. So same shape and same energy. Clear? Right? Okay. The next thing. The next thing is now atom, like I said, the carbon example I have taken. So carbon now have 4 orbitals, 4 hybrid orbitals. Now carbon is ready with its 4 hybrid orbitals to make bonds. Now carbon will arrange its 4 hybrid orbitals in such a way that the repulsion between all these orbitals should be minimum. And carbon will put all these 4 orbitals in such a shape or in such a distance, you can say, in such a arrangement, so that repulsion can be minimized, so that stability can be increased, right? So I am saying here, this point I am saying. So hybrid orbitals will be arranged in such a arrangement, in such a geometry or shape, you can say, in which repulsion can be minimized. Right? What I mean by this, you know, carbon is sp3 hybridized. Carbon is having 4 hybrid orbitals. So I will keep these 4 orbitals in such a way that repulsion will be minimum. Like, first of all, I am putting one orbital here, right? I am putting next orbital here. I'll put next one here, and I'll put next one here. So this is the arrangement in which I will keep my 4 hybrid orbitals, or carbon will keep its 4 hybrid orbitals, so that repulsion is what? Minimum. Clear? Actually, it is tetrahedral shape. Definitely you have heard about it. Okay, that means it is like in this shape, na? One is going in this direction, one here, one here, one here. Okay, it is 3D. Maybe it looks like 3 are coming down, one is going up. No, 4 means one is here, one is here, one here, and one here. So all four hybrid orbitals are equidistant from each other. It's a 3D structure, right? So it is the structure where repulsion is minimum. Okay, if you arrange these in some other arrangement, repulsion will be more than this. Okay, so it is the best one. Now hydrogen will come. Hydrogen is coming with its s orbital, s orbital, s orbital, s orbital to make bonds. Clear? Clear, bacha? If you see, imagine this is your carbon. So this is what? Hydrogen, 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 hydrogen. Now, if you ask, sir, which orbitals are making bond, which orbitals are overlapping to make bonds? So what is that? If you look carefully, this orbital. Okay, this so we know. This is which orbital? S orbital, S, S. This is S orbital of hydrogens, right? Now, the name of this orbital is what? The name of this orbital is sp3. Carbon using its sp3 orbital to make a bond. So if they ask doubt, which orbitals are making bond here? In CH4, this CH bond, the carbon hydrogen bond is formed by overlap of which orbital? So carbon is using its sp3 orbital and hydrogen using its s orbital, right? This is the way, this is the little theoretical points about the about your hybridization, right? I hope everyone is clear now. Okay, now we will discuss some other type of questions. Like one more type I will discuss today. Like they ask sometime in this molecule, how many are the hybrid orbitals and how many are unhybrid? Okay, remember one thing, hybrid orbitals make only sigma bonds. Hybrid orbitals cannot make pi bonds. Pi bonds are always formed by what? By the pure orbitals, like, okay. So we will see one, two example in that way, okay. These are some of the theoretical points which they can ask in a statement type of question, or they can ask in assertion reason. The remaining part we already covered, okay. So now, sometimes they will ask this question, like find number of hybrid and unhybrid orbitals, right? If I say, example I am saying here C2H6, first of all easy one I am taking, okay, C2H6. Okay, Charan is asking some doubt. Sir, doubt is unhybrid or pure? Yes, beta. Pure orbitals, or you can say unhybrid orbital are same. Okay, same thing is there. Okay. Yes, everyone. Okay. The point now I am discussing here C2H6. You will understand by this example. Okay. You will understand by this example. Okay, Bacha Leela, listen to this carefully. I am taking here ethane. Ethane this, right? It's ethane, right? Try to understand now carefully. First of all, by the shortcut method, tell me this, what is the hybridization of this carbon and this carbon? By the shortcut method, tell me what is the hybridization of the both the carbons. Tell me. I told you what is the way. Count the number of sigma bonds plus lone pair of the atom. It will give you the hybridization. So please tell me, what is this? This is making sigma, 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 sigma. 4 sigma bonds. It is sp3 hybridized. This carbon also sigma, sigma, sigma. It is also what, beta? sp3 hybridized. Fine? Clear? If you think this way, you will see this carbon is having 4 hybridorbitals, which is making bonds. This carbon also have 4 hybridorbitals, which is making bond. If I make here the structure, this carbon is sp3 hybridized. It is having 4 hybridorbitals. One hybridobital of this carbon, the other one, and the other one. Right? This next carbon also have sp3, means 4 hybridorbitals. sp3, sp3 here, sp3 here, and sp3 here. Clear? This bond here is formed between sp3 of this orbital and sp3 of this orbital, right? Here. And here we have hydrogen. This is hydrogen's s orbital, s orbital, s orbital, s, s, s. So what is the name of this orbital? S, s, s here. This is s, s, s. Clear? Now, the name of this orbital, beta, if I say, this is which orbital? sp3 orbital of this carbon, sp3 of this carbon. This is sp3, this is sp3, this is what? sp3. Okay, we will not take so much time in every question. It is just I'm explaining, okay? That's why. So if you see overall in this case, how many orbitals are hybrid and how many orbitals are unhybrid? Can you tell me? I have drawn the complete structure. So please tell me how many are hybrid and how many are unhybrid. Yes. How many are hybrid here and how many are unhybrid? Tell me, bacha. If you see carefully, this carbon having is sp3 hybridized. It is having 1, 2, 3, 4. This carbon have 4 hybridorbitals. This carbon also how many hybrid? 4 hybrid. So total how many hybrid? If I say hybrid orbitals are 8. 4 from this carbon, 4 from this carbon. If I ask you, beta, how many are unhybrid? Tell me. How many are unhybrid orbitals? Tell me. Yes, Leela will tell. Tell you, Leela. How many are unhybrid? Which are pure orbitals? Hydrogen, so here not hybridized. So hydrogen orbitals, s orbitals are unhybrid. Right? Oh, by mistake I put 4 here. Definitely it's 8. 4 for this, 4 for this. Total are 8, right? Tell me, how many are unhybrid? How many are unhybrid now? S, 3 and 3 how many? 6. These 6 orbital are unhybrid here, right? These 6 are unhybrid. Yes, everyone, 6 are unhybrid. So here 8, you can say 8 are hybrid and 6 are unhybrid. Clear? Yes, Dinesh. Okay, fine. I will discuss the same topic, hybrid and unhybrid orbitals, tomorrow, because in 2-3 minutes so it will not be covered. So ethene, ethyne type of questions where pi bonds will come, I will discuss tomorrow, right? So today we did the theoretical points about hybridization and 2 shortcuts to find hybridization of the given atom. Okay, bacha? After discussing this type of questions, we will come back to the VSEPR theory. Okay, bacha? I hope this will help you. Okay, bye everyone. See you tomorrow.